Good evening, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's 8:30 across the United Kingdom, and we're coming to you live from the studios of British Muslim TV Centre in Wakefield with this week's edition of Questions with me, your host, Muhammad Shafiq. We're broadcasting Sky Channel 752 and across social media at the handle British Muslim TV. Wherever you are joining us from around the world, a very warm welcome. Now, I wanted to start by offering my personal condolences and solidarity for the victims of the earthquake in Turkey and Syria that happened in the early hours of Monday morning. To date, we have seen over 11,000 people have died, with many injured and still missing. It is at times of calamity that we see the best of the Muslim Ummah, and I'm in no doubt we will see in the days to come how the Ummah stands with the victims and help in their times of need. And it's great to see so many countries come together to help the people of Turkey and Syria. We want you to comment on the big stories we're covering tonight. Call us now on 01924 231 083. Messages on the WhatsApp number, which is on the screen now. And if you're watching this on Facebook, Assalamu alaikum, post your comment in the chat box and we'll read some of them on air later. Tonight, first, we head to Bristol and talk to the United Nations observer, Rana Basharat Ali Khan, about human rights around the world. We then head to Birmingham to talk to community activist Shakil Afsar about Kashmir and their struggle for freedom. And we finish off in Manchester and talk to the broadcaster and commentator, Dr. Hamid al-Mashriqi, about the death of former President of Pakistan, President Pervez Musharraf. He died the weekend and he was buried earlier on this week. We'll reflect on his time in office, his record, and how history will judge him. So we want to hear from you tonight. You can call us on 01924 231 083. Messages on British Muslim TV across social media. Alternatively, you can send us a WhatsApp message. The number is on the screen. The questions we're considering tonight: how important are human rights around the world? Will the world notice the oppression of the Kashmiri people? And how do you remember President Pervez Musharraf? Please share your thoughts on 01924 231 083. Messages on WhatsApp, posts on social media. We'll read some of your comments throughout the programme. It's also an opportunity for us to mourn the loss of one of the world's most renowned Islamic scholars. Mufti Muhammad Iqbal Chishti Sahab from Pakistan died earlier today. He was a man of great integrity, great passion, and a leader on the field when it came to defending the honour of the Sahaba and when it came to the honour to defend the honour of the Ahlul Bayt. He was always on the front line, deeply devoted, passionate and committed to the love of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam. It's a great loss for the Ummah. We offer our condolences to him, his family, and to all the community of Pakistan, his friends and his family. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala elevate his rank in Jannah and give the family sabr. Let's get started on the program. The United Nations was set up to promote human rights around the world. In 2023, there are numerous examples of human rights abuses, and some claim that there's no reaction or action or accountability from the United Nations. Whether we look in Syria, Palestine, Yemen, Afghanistan, or Kashmir, the story is the same about human rights. But equality campaigners are equally saying that human rights abuses are happening here in the West and in European societies, which are often ignored by their governments and societies. You look about the ban on the hijab, Muslim women able to wear the headscarf in France and in other European countries. My next guest, Rana Basharat Ali Khan, has many years' experience in the field of advocating for human rights. He's the chairman of the International Human Rights Movement based here in the UK, and he's an observer at the United Nations in New York. He lives in Bristol with his family. Pleased to say Rana Basharat Ali Khan is joining us live now to reflect on his story from Bristol. Rana Sahab, Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the program. Great to have this conversation.
Wa alaikum salam, Brother Shafiq, and thank you. And it is always a privilege to be a part of your show.
Yeah.
Because it's not because we get chance to come on TV, because it is because you always invite us whenever the human rights issue. And I'm thank you on behalf of the thousands of international human rights workers that you give us chance to speak from our heart about human rights.
Yeah, well, I think the honour is all ours. So let's just start, first of all, before we get into the questions. You've been banned from Twitter. Why would Twitter ban a human rights activist of great caliber, United Nations observer like you?
That's unfortunately very heart-touching question. It is a sixer on the beginning of the show. It is unfortunate that I was banned from the Twitter about 3 months ago. And not only banned, they said I cannot even make account with a a different identity. This is a modern day slavery. Slavery, I always speak about it. I always speak at United Nations. This is not something which is justice for our latest technology. But unfortunately, these organizations run by private individual and business company, there is not much we can do other than apply. We already approach Twitter new boss and management, but I don't get a response. But still, we are surviving. But this is one of the major issue. They don't want us, people like me, who are working for social justice, who are working for humanity, especially when we talk about Palestine, Syria, Burma, Kashmir. They don't want to listen to us. They want us to keep quiet on a national issue. They don't want to speak the truth. They don't want to listen the truth. But unfortunately, we are living with that system. There is nothing much we can do other than people like you who come in up front and give us a little bit help to speak about what's happening around the world, especially on Kashmir, Palestine, Burma, Syria. These all affected area. If you look at these all affected area, the mostly is 99% area linked with the Muslims and Muslim countries.
Yeah, that's really important. Thank you so much. And we'll keep an eye on what is happening in terms of your Twitter account. Since you, particularly when you see lots of people on the far right who have had their accounts restored in the last few weeks, and then you've got somebody who worked so hard for human rights being treated like that, I'm sure we can try to get a comment from Twitter as to why that is happening. Now, since you came on the program last time, how have you been, what you're working on, and how's your health?
From the last program till today, first of all, I have a massive fight with the social media about Facebook, because I was banned from the Facebook. They closed my account, which was running from last many years with hundreds of thousands of followers. They banned without any reason. Then we create the second account. They banned second account. So these last few months, we was fighting about that. But same time, we was struggling in Kashmir. We was fighting for a human right in Iraq, Yemen, Syria, and also in Afghanistan. But as we are working for human rights, and human rights is a big stage and it is big screen, so we are fighting to reach out all the people who are affected by the human rights violence around the world. But recently, we all witnessed that our holy book was burned in one of the European country in Sweden, then led by other countries. So we organized protest against that in Pakistan and other countries, and we also move legal action in national court about bringing some rule and some new law about the respect of the holy books and holy personality and holy feelings. So it's been tough years. You can, as you mentioned before the interview, I lost about 60 kg weight due to this depression. But unfortunately, it is a long way, and we have fight against these injustice and unhuman activities around the world. So there is so many issues.
Yeah, that's really important. And you're eradicated on the front line, which takes a lot of action. How is it important for us to advocate for human rights around the world?
I think this is, being a human and especially as a Muslim, this is our responsibility. Speak for the people who do not have a voice, who do not have a platform for speak their own right. But this is what we can do as individual and organization who we have a voice, who have an opportunity to speak for them. We are living in a modern society, so-called independent society, where we can speak for people. Like people in Burma, I believe you were one of the main speaker in a protest in 2017 when we had hold a protest outside the Burma embassy. So imagine people in Burma, they do not have even passport. So facility on internet, social media or TV is so far. So it is very difficult for them to speak, to visit United Nations or European Union or all other international platform for speak what happening in Burma, what happening in a refugees camp in Bangladesh, what happening in refugees camp in Burma. So this is people like us. I believe we have to come forward and we have to speak. If we stop speaking for them, who will speak for them? It's not we are talking not we are not talking about one person, two people, one nation, two nation, one country, two country. There are millions of people. There are millions of people in around 15 countries out of 200 countries are under the war or affected by the war. They need our voice. There is millions of people. They are homeless. Not only homeless, they are far away from their basic rights. So I think people like us have to speak. If we don't speak, this society will be a jungle society. There will be no law for anyone. If we stop speaking for today for them, might be we will face a similar situation tomorrow with us. We cannot protect or we cannot say anything that we are living in a Europe where we are safe. Look at the Ukraine is one of the great example in a current era. Yeah, they have a modern, they have an internet, they have everything, they have a social media, but still they need our help. They need us to speak for them. They need us to stand for them.
Sorry, brother, Rana Sahab, stay there. I know we're just going to a very quick break. When we come back, we'll continue this important conversation with the human rights activist Rana Basharat Ali Khan, who's joining us live from Bristol. After break, we'll continue this important conversation. Don't be going anywhere. Assalamu alaikum.
Search Hyundai.
You have arrived at your destination.
Hyundai.
If you think you know our cars and how to say our name, maybe it's time to think again.
Hyundai, not Highland Eye.
Oh, it's Hyundai, by the way.
Hyundai. Search Hyundai.
It's the dawn of a new Hyundai.
अदा असांजे मींहं वसिया ॾाढा असांखे ॾाढो परेशान थियासीं असांजे ॿोॾ अची वई घर खां बेघर थी वियासीं असां जूं जायूं किरी पियूं कुझु न रहियो असांजो सखणा सिर वठी असां निकिता आहियूं उतां बच्चा असांजा मज़ूरी कंदा आहिनि त खाईंदा आहियूं जे न कंदा आहिनि त असां कॾहिं चुल्हो बि न ॿारींदा आहियूं असां सां इहे मजबूरियूं न पोइ हिते वेठा आहियूं अची खीमा ॾिना अथऊं खीमनि में वेठा आहियूं असांखे अटो मिलियो खाइण जो सॼो ई राशन मिलियो जेको असां खाईंदासीं जंहिंमें हर शइ मौजूदु आहे उन में थांव बि किचन जा सजाई असांखे ॾिना अथऊं असांजे भाइरनि जी महिरबानी आहे उन में बाल्टियूं आहिनि बदना आहिनि अलाह उन्हनि भाइरनि खे अञा गंज ॾींदो असांजी ईअं मदद कंदा
Assalamu alaikum, welcome back to Questions with me, Mohammed Shafiq, exclusively here on British Muslim TV. Thank you so much for joining us. We're joined by the human rights activist and campaigner Rana Basharat Ali Khan from Bristol. Before we talk about what's going on at the moment, I just wanted to ask you about one of the accusations that's made against people like yourself is that you're very selective when it comes to human rights. And Western liberal human rights campaigners say that in Afghanistan, for example, women and girls are denied an education or the freedom to work. And people like you, not your organizations, are not speaking out. How would you respond to that?
I think this can be a judgment by few people, but this is not correct. We always speak about every individual around the world, regardless of color, culture, or religion. We speak about the women also. We speak about women for education in Afghanistan. We speak women to get right health around the world, especially in Africa. Our teams door-to-door working for hygienic health and basic need for a woman, especially in a young women. And we always help and we always speak in a United Nations and European Union for women. So I think this is something not right, but we always stand for that. And we are still working with the WHO and United Nations and UNS for women education, and I'm part of that committee as well, that working for Afghanistan and closely working with Afghanistan government to allow women be educated.
Yeah, that's really, really good. And the important thing is raising your voice wherever you can see it. The lines are open, 01924 231 083. How is life for you as a human rights activist in these difficult times? You talked about your health and the impact on you. How do you stay strong? Because if people like you who are on the front line are not strong, then how can the people who are suffering human rights abuses get strength?
In the beginning, it was very tough. As you understand, we are living in a society where we have a responsibility for family, children, and other bills to pay. But slowly and slowly, we become too used to for this. Yes, that's true. I lost about 60 kg in last 2 years, because whenever I visit the doctor, he said he can't see any major reason other than a stress. So when he talk about the stress, so there is a long list which we wish for it, and which we are dealing for every day. My daily sleep is about 2.5 hours. So my phone start ringing 4 o'clock in the morning, and sometime even I don't get chance to sleep more than 2 or 3 hours in a day, because international human rights movement right now working 62 countries, and we are officially registered in 12 countries, and all these countries where the international human rights working actively, they are war zone area. They are affected by the war, or they are war zone area, or they are neglected from the rest of the world. I will give you example. In Syria, we are working from 2019, and from last 3 days, I do not have any contact or any link with my team which was working in Syria. I don't know what happened to them. I don't know. There is an internet problem. I wish they are safe. I pray for them. But this is this kind of stress we received from the people working in Iraq, people working in a camp in Yemen, people working in a camp in Syria. So when you have people who are in a grassroots, who are in a frontline fighter, who will give you the story, the horrible story for the people dying in their hand, people are dying because of hunger, people dying because of low health. So when you heard these kind of story, you need a big heart to handle it. And especially sometimes we feel ourselves helpless when we listen these kind of story, and we find ourselves nowhere. We find ourselves weak. We find ourselves resourceless. We find ourselves powerless. So in that situation, there is nothing other than we fight, we struggle with ourselves, that what we can provide, what we do for them. I will give you example. Let's say example, what happened in Turkey just few days ago. Our team was working in Turkey. Now we are facing more than 14,000 people. The figure which is on social media, they're still wrong. They are still counting how many people. I was speaking yesterday with a deputy foreign minister of Turkey, and he said we do not have any clear figure. We are just in the beginning to count the people. We are just beginning to count the lost. So when we saw these kind of situation where we think that we can do much, we can provide much, but we are resourceless, we are not that powerful, but we make ourselves in a front line to save the people as much as we can do.
Yeah, that's really, really important. Just for our viewers' sake, what does a United Nations observer do?
Oh, that's one of the common questions which we face everywhere. We observe, as you can understand, we observe what is United Nations doing, war zone affected area, what they are doing on weakest parts to the society, Nigeria, Africa, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, what they are doing, how they are playing their role. Then we make reports, we visit the affected country, then we present our report in every yearly conferences, which is happen 4 times a year in a United Nations. So we give our view that how better United Nations can deal with these kind of situation with a local and national organization, with the help of the local government as well.
And as part of that, you get to observe elections around the world. You're on your way to Nigeria. Tell us what's going to happen there, because the presidential election happening there later on this month.
Yes, this is the first time I believe that we are going to observe the election in Africa. As you can understand, that is a very dangerous area. there is very security concern. Even yesterday there was a meeting with the Nigerian government and Nigerian foreign minister. They are also concerned about the security, but our aim as an international human rights observer and as our organization, this is our aim to deliver and give a best possible fair election to the Nigerian people so they can have their own choice. They can have an election without any fear. They can have a right to vote who they want to vote. So this is our responsibility to give our people not only human rights, but human rights in a social justice, human rights in their voice. So who they want to be a next prime minister, who they want to be a next president, who they want to be their representative in the National Assembly or in a parliament.
Yeah. So presidential elections happening across Nigeria, lots of candidates, and you'll be observing to make sure it's a fair and transparent election. As you travel around the world, what have you learned about yourself?
Sorry?
What have you learned about yourself? If you reflect on your life?
There is many experience I can share. There is a plenty of stories I can share, but I believe they are not very great or very happy stories. They are painful. They are very heart-touching story. I always say people who have internet, who are living in a modern society, in justice-full society, you are lucky. You are born lucky that you have a voice, you have a choice what to wear, what to speak, what to do, what religion to follow, what culture to follow, even what kind of hairstyle you can have. There is a few countries in the world, you can't even have the hairstyle by your own choice. I do not want to name the country because I do not want my team get trouble. A different kind of humor, have a food by your choice. If I mention the country, you will be surprised. There is a few food you cannot even eat. Let's example in India, the double standard of India. They are the largest exporter for meat in the world. I think a second or a third country in the world who export the meat around the world. But if in the same country, in the same India culture, some Muslim have some halal meat or goat meat, they will get killed. They will get most horrible punishment. So this is a double standard. So we are blessed. All the people who are listening right now, they are blessed. They have internet. Imagine people in Bangladesh, in Syria, refugees, especially in Burma refugees, 10,000 people sharing 5 to 6 toilets, 20,000 people sharing one doctor. There is no education. There is no health. There is no clean water. There is no have any hope for a great future in few decades. Imagine people in Iraq. Imagine people in Afghanistan living in a war from last many decades. Imagine people in Kashmir. They have a fear to go outside to speak about their right, speak about their education right, speak about their basic need. They are living in a like a control imprisonment. Imagine people in China, who we can speak for them when even they do not speak for their own language. They cannot keep the name by their choice. This is one of the great, I think, historical human rights violence, that you cannot pick up the name by your choice. You are not independent. You are not have a choice to be call yourself Muhammad, Ahmad, or Ali, or Mustafa. You have some typical name to pick up by the government. You cannot pray your namaz. You cannot pick up your religion. You cannot wear the dress by your choice. So people around have facing different kind of human rights violence. This is why people like us and an organization like us or any other organization, there is thousands of organizations who are working for human rights. I think this is a long way fight. This is a long way to go for people on the planet get basic justice.
Well, thank you so much. Sadly, we've reached the end of our time together. I want to wish you well and congratulations on your new important work.
Before you go, I want to mention one thing, if it's possible.
We don't have time. We've run out. It's got about 20 seconds if you've got quickly.
All right. I just want to give a local example of Bristol, our local masjid in Bristol, Fishpond, Faizan Medina.
Okay.
They are playing a wonderful role. They are collecting funds and cloth and medicine for Turkey people. I think this example need to be followed by the rest of the Europe.
Okay, yeah, well, we've seen a big outpouring of support. Thank you so much for joining us. After the break, we'll head to Birmingham and Shakil Afzal will be.
It was on my first trip to Pakistan when I was 12 that I saw kids my own age whose backs bowed under the weight of carrying water containers. It made me realise how fortunate I was. As I got older, I became more involved to improve the plight of orphans in my home village. Eventually in 2009, I founded the charity Penny Appeal. Teamwork really does make the dream work, because in a few years we became a British Muslim movement. Our donors saved lives. Wells, mosques, schools, hospitals. Impact the life. Made penny. Small change.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to Questions with me, Mohammed Shafiq. And we're coming to you live from the British Muslim TV Centre here in Wakefield. Thank you so much to our previous guest, Rana Basharat Ali, who is joining us from Bristol. And some very important work that people are doing. And we often forget the impact it has on one's well-being and health and family. So we pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protects him and gives him health. Right, the Kashmiri struggle for freedom has gone on for decades, and like our conversation before the break with Rana Basharat, the world has been accused of ignoring the human rights abuses in Indian-held Kashmir. From forced beatings, kidnap, house arrest, rape and sexual abuse of Kashmiri people, and then killings, has led to further divisions with the Indian authorities. Now, 5th of February is known as Kashmir Freedom Day. Overseas Kashmiris around the world have used the commemoration day to highlight their campaign issues of freedom from occupation. Now, the Indian government have denied that the human rights abuses are happening, and they say that they are fighting terrorism, often supported by the Pakistani government and military forces. Pakistan, in return, is rejecting that allegation and calls it Indian propaganda to cover up their human rights abuses. Shakil Afzal is a community activist who's been campaigning in Kashmir for decades. He lives, well, I said decades, but he's still a young guy. He lives in Birmingham with his family and recently opposed pro-Indian government protesters in the city. Pleased to say Shakil Afzal is joining us live from Birmingham. Shakil, assalamu alaikum. Great, warm welcome back to the programme. Sorry, I put an extra few decades on your age there.
Yeah, you're making me sound older than I actually am. I'm actually 35 for those who are interested.